Tonight, once again, we gather in search of the truth, dark, and mystery. It's the Drunk Turkey Show.
Big development today in the investigation into the murders of 4 University of Idaho students. According to state and local officials and court documents, 28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger has been arrested. He was arrested and arraigned this morning in Pennsylvania.
We have new details on what Bryan Kohberger was doing right before his arrest. Police says a tactical team burst in to arrest the Idaho murder suspect. He was in pajamas and latest gloves, stuffing trash into Ziploc bags.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000. It still sucks. This is Phil J. Fry, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show. Your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
You guys know what to do, just like every other podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the DT Show. I'm Daniel, and today we're getting back into the Bryan Kohberger case. I know there's been some news and some updates in the, not necessarily in the Jack and Lily Sullivan disappearance, but in the there was an arrest made of the stepfather in an unrelated crime. We're going to talk about that more in depth tomorrow night, guys. So like, comment, subscribe for that. But we'll talk more about that there. I know I've seen on a couple of my other shows in the comment section, people were asking about my opinion, and I'm waiting till tomorrow to let you guys know about that. But tonight, what we're going to talk about is Bryan Kohberger, and Bryan Kohberger is going to be on the schedule a few times this week. We're going to talk about him tonight, and then we're going to talk about him on Saturday night. I have a civil lawyer that's going to be coming on to the show, and we're going to be discussing the lawsuit between the victims' family members from the University of Idaho victims and against WSU, because they feel that, you know, WSU had a lot of complaints and could have prevented something if they would have taken action ahead of time. I agree with them, and I agree that at the very least that they could have probably figured out who Bryan Kohberger was without the IGG, without a bunch of other things, and a lot quicker, and perhaps maybe even recover some more evidence and information had maybe perhaps WSU was a little bit more open about their problem child, Bryan Kohberger, teaching assistant that they had. Well, we'll see what happens. But tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Bryan Kohberger's whininess and his want to move from Idaho somewhere else. Well, we're going to talk about that and the possibilities. We have Alina Smith, who's going to be joining us from Crime Scene Collective. Alina, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's another day in Texas where the weather is going back and forth. It's been freezing. Today was warm, and I think in the next couple of days it'll be freezing again. And so mood changes quite often. How about
It's been
yourself?
a lot over here. Well, we've been off all week. My kids' school got canceled again tomorrow, so it's been a lot. It's icy. We're getting a lot of cold weather, rain, and all that again tonight. So it's like, just like you said, it's hot and cold, and once we think it's going away, it's coming right back tonight. So
Just like
and
Bryan
the and the
Kohberger.
Bills didn't win. So
And the Steelers. But Bryan Kohberger too just doesn't go away. The information keeps coming out. There's been some information that's been thrown about here recently, and I'll read this article and then we'll react to it. I probably read 2 paragraphs of this, so pretty unknown to me about what's going on, and I'm hoping you can fill me in as well. But this is from, I think it's Fox News. Yeah, Fox News reporting that the title is Idaho prison officials reject reports of Bryan Kohberger transfer despite ongoing complaints about conditions. Retired detective Chris McDonough stands by claim that quadruple murderer could be moved within weeks. So just by the title and the first sentence there, I guess we can deduce that somebody had claimed that Bryan Kohberger was going to be moving. That somebody was Chris McDonough, who's had quite a bit of insight when it comes to the ins and outs of what Bryan Kohberger has been doing and some of the complaints he's had in the Idaho prison. And we have the Idaho prison saying that it's not true. Well, I guess we'll find out if he moves within a couple of weeks or not. But what are your thoughts on these first, the title and the claim, which Detective McDonough still stands by?
Well, I mean, of course, like when I first saw it, I was like, oh, here we go. It just like kind of goes with like the pattern of how he's been right off the bat. Like he was complaining, I think within the first 5 weeks, he was, complaining about the food, complaining about how he's being accosted through the verbal, abuse through like radiators or however it is over there. And he just felt that, even though he gave up his rights when he pled 4 times, to these charges, to the murder charges, that he still had some sort of rights and some sort of special treatment. But, he also requested to go into the solitary, he's already in the solitary confinement with the 23 hours inside a day and then 1 hour, that he has the outside or however it is. But then he requested, I wrote notes here somewhere, but he wanted the, how it is, like they call it the hole, in like the, layman's terms, but he requested to go into the hole to protect himself further from these attacks that he's getting. And then, the foods, the bananas, this and that. And so kind of when I saw this, I was like, oh, this kind of just goes along with how he's been conducting himself thus far. But I mean, nothing surprises me with this case. So did I believe it right away? I mean, I don't believe anything until I see it, but I was curious, of course.
Yeah. I was as well. Hearing this and talking to you earlier, some of the complaints that he's been making, to me, it just kind of seems like this has been a guy that has often got what he wants as long as he whines enough. I mean, even with some of the text messages that he was sending to his, to his mom and to his dad, back and forth about where mother is and this and that. And then, can you talk? Can you talk now? How about now? That type of stuff. I can see that type of behavior transitioning into the prison, and now he's trying to get his way. And so let's continue to what this, or go ahead. What do you have right now?
So like this, a type of thing like this, like from the research, I tried to do just some quick research, what I could find out, but we did see that there was a notice posted from the Idaho, Department of Corrections, and they said that they don't have anything to say on this. They don't have any information on this. They don't know anything about this. But prior to that, what I was finding out, is this possible? Yes, I did see that there was something in Indiana that this happened before, in Oklahoma, that, prisons will transfer within, institutions, and but they have to speak within each other. They have to come up with an agreement. But right now, knowing how understaffed they are, how underfunded they are, like, do they really want to, allow for a prisoner, an inmate, a felon such as Bryan Kohberger to, even to just entertain something like this, and just have something like this like in the spotlight? What is this going to show for all the other inmates, up until this point? Like, oh, what do we have to do? We have to, make a big fuss about it. We have to send letters. This is just going to cause more chaos for these facilities, these prisons that are already understaffed and dealing with all of this nonsense with these, prisoners like Bryan Kohberger. And now they're going to deal with more letters and more requests and more, their lawyers saying, oh, well, what about my client? They deserve, special treatment too then, That's why I feel like this is another reason they would never allow for something like this, because then everybody else is going to be like, well, what about me too? Aside from that, let's say it happened, right? So Bryan goes to another facility. What makes him or anybody else think that facility, that jail is going to be any different? So then he goes to the next place, and then 6 months down the line over there, or 3 months, 4 months, same thing's going to happen. So then what? He's going to write letters and make a big fuss, and then they're going to transfer. So they're just going to play musical chairs with all these prisons because Bryan Kohberger isn't comfortable. Like, I'm sorry, he's got to get used to being the jail's pillow princess now. I mean, that's his new life.
I don't disagree with you. The only difference here is that, if you have somebody who's, in life behind bars, their lawyer isn't somebody that they're paying a tremendous amount of money that's going to be actively going in there and trying to seek the things that Bryan Kohberger is doing. And so it's up to the prisoner themselves. And the collective intelligence of, probably the majority of the folks that are in bars with him or behind bars are probably not to his level of intelligence. And there's what I'm trying to say is there's probably not as many people who are familiar there with what to say and how to say it and what to write so that they could get a move. Bryan Kohberger is a little bit different of a situation because he may be familiar. He may educate himself on some of the rules there, read the books that's required, use some of the verbiage that is needed, and not have to use a lawyer because, again, that costs money, and no free lawyer is going to go in there like, oh, somebody's making fun of you and you want to waste my time in writing up all these reports while they have all these other, cases that are going on. That's not going to happen. And so for Bryan Kohberger, it's a little bit different. And I think he may actually get, what he wants in that extent because of that. And then I'm not saying that it's right or this or that. It's completely wrong. But unfortunately, when you have somebody who is probably well-versed in what to say, I think he may end up getting what he wants.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but that he wouldn't have to, reach out or seek out the additional funds for a lawyer to draft these, motions for him or however that works. But somebody has to read it. Somebody has to file it. Somebody has to say, okay, this goes, I mean, there's an opposing side that has to see if this is even a legal document that can be, that they have to see if it's admissible, right? And that requires a legal team on the other side, and that costs money. And then, like I was saying, that's going to set a precedent for the other prisoners, and they're going to, like the ones that have public defenders, they're going to tap into the state funding and be like, well, what about me? And this is where I think the decision will need to be made, just a hard no. It's just a no.
I hope it's a no. I hope they give them the no and they continue to tell them no. But kind of like with the change of venue, I was hoping, at the time that they wouldn't do it. I'm glad that they did it, in retrospect or in hindsight, given the judges and the things of that nature. But at the time, I was not completely for the move. I wasn't completely against it. However, in my opinion, just kind of looking at things and taking a bias hat off, I was like, it's more likely going to get moved and go into the favor of the defense. Mm-hmm. And that ended up being the case in this scenario here. I think if Bryan Kohberger complains enough and uses the right amount of verbiage, that could, if it goes to the right person and it gets the right person's attention, if he's persistent enough, I would not be surprised if he got something. Now, be careful what you wish for. Just because he gets a move doesn't mean he's going to get a move where he's going to just like that change of venue he wanted.
Right. I was just going to say, just like the venue change, in the beginning, it was like, oh no. But then, as it was going, it was like, well, actually, maybe this is not such a bad thing, So yeah, I mean, I don't know. On my personal opinion is I don't see this happening. I don't.
Neither do I.
I really don't. He's just that level of a criminal that it's not going to have, he just doesn't have those rights anymore.
I agree.
It's not Martha Stewart, that's not getting her way and isn't comfortable and knows that there's an end game here and, get me through that. It's done for him. This is the rest of his life. They can't keep bouncing him around to make it better for him.
Yeah.
That ship has sailed.
I agree. This goes on to say the Idaho Department of Correction is not aware the source of this information, is not considering a move for Bryan Kohberger. Spokesman Ryan Mortenson told Fox News Digital Thursday, while convicted serial killer Keith Jefferson has been for months suggesting Kohberger should seek transfer to an Oregon State penitentiary where he is being held himself. The prison officials were actually considering such a move, surfaced in the Daily Mail Wednesday, citing Chris McDonough, the director of the Cold Case Foundation, and a retired detective. So I wasn't aware of that. It sounds here that not only was there a move that Chris McDonough was saying that was going to happen, but it was going to be specifically to the Oregon State Penitentiary. Do you think Kohberger could see, perhaps he sees Happy Face, the serial killer, Happy Face Killer, Keith Jefferson. He's saying he's having a safe time. Nobody's bothering him. He committed crimes that were similar to what Bryan Kohberger did. Do you think Bryan Kohberger is that where he's trying to get to?
It could be, but again, I just think that it's just not. I don't think Bryan is the one. I don't think Bryan is going to get that special treatment right now.
Right.
There's too much going on with him. There's too much, already in the media about, why is he already getting all this special treatment thus far? And like, he didn't have to even give an explanation when he pled. He didn't have to say where any of the, weapon or weapons are. He didn't have to even say why this house or these victims were chosen. Nothing. And now he gets to choose where he sleeps. What else? Is he going to get to go home on his birthday and Christmas next? Like, what's going on here?
He is home. He is.
Well,
home.
he doesn't think so. He thinks he's on. He thinks he's on a little vacation, and he needs to go to the next one. If he was home, he wouldn't be making this fuss, would he?
I agree. Contacted by Fox Digital News, McDonough stood by the report. Fox Digital News contacted McDonough, and he's saying he had solid information from a prison insider, and that the move could take place in about a month. I'll put $2 million on it, he told Fox Digital News. We'll see in a couple of weeks. I mean,
Bryan won't know until the day it happens. So,
well, this is McDonough. Yeah, McDonough is saying that he'll put $2 million on the fact that Bryan Kohberger is going to move. I don't.
Interesting.
McDonough has some pretty impressive sources.
He does, and I mean, if he's willing to bet on it, I'm not. I am a gambling woman. A lot of people know that, but I won't bet on this.
I don't either. I'd wait to see it, but I've been surprised before many times, to be honest with you. Like for instance, when in this case, when we had gotten word, like, I don't know, like a week or two after the murders, that maybe not even that long. So somebody had emailed me and the guys, told us that somebody in the house had seen the killer walk down the stairs and past the room, and that they were wearing a mask and this, that, and the third, right? And me, Haim, and Blue were like, dude, how could they have seen him and not called 911? So we completely discredited it. We didn't bring it up on the show. You can imagine, our job on the floor.
Yeah, right.
When the PCA comes out and we're like, well, I guess we were wrong, and there ain't nothing wrong with being wrong. Everybody's wrong at something at some point in their life. No one's perfect. It's about not sticking to, sticking to being wrong.
Right.
Then that's when it becomes an issue. But maybe McDonough's right, and there's a move in place, and the jail doesn't want, or the prison doesn't want that out because they fear that it's a safety concern if people know that he's moving. Of course it is.
Of course it's a safety concern. I mean, this alone, just him saying this alone, the $2 million bet, I was not aware of that. I mean, I feel that's going to, like, even saying this can happen within a month, or the month is a timeline. I mean, there's people that are so desperate for anything on this that they will park themselves outside that prison for a month. I mean, people sit outside of Target for 3 days for some cup with hearts on it, like, people don't care. For this, they will wait outside of that prison for a month just to get that glimpse, or get that, just like you said, if you would have said, the perpetrator, how somebody saw, walking through, like, they want to be that one because there's been so many times. People are crazy. And just saying that alone, I think, is just kind of, I mean, I have no disrespect for any creator or anybody out there, but it's like, I don't know. That's going to cause a lot of chaos, just saying that alone. I mean, we're talking about it.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, and
is
you're
he
right.
doing this also because, like, is this time because of the stuff that's coming out, because of the lawsuit, because of the documents that came out with all this new information, or not? It's not new. It's just now, open to the public. Is this calculated? Because I mean, I feel that other things have been calculated by him, by, other stuff, so could that be it too? It's like one of these, like, look over here, but this is what we're doing, because this is over here. We don't want you to really focus on that. Like, what is this? Because it's just the timing of it is just, that's a little funny to me too.
Yeah, it is a little weird. It is a little weird. Welcome, Jay Jalvin, 77. Sorry,
Jalvin? I think
Jalvin. I'm
it's
sorry about
Jay
misprint.
Lavin.
Jay Lavin. That probably JJ Lavin. There you go. Sorry about that. Welcome to the newest membership. Thank you for joining us. After the show, I'm going to drop the Discord link in the community page for our community members. That way you can be part of the conversation and be part of the Discord. Steph C comes in saying, as somebody who works in this environment, I felt that they should have sent him out of state from the beginning. I mean, taking Bryan Kohberger in this situation and this scenario here, do you think maybe perhaps he should have been sent to a different place outside of Idaho for either safety or whatever, any concerns?
I don't know that. Like, I honestly, I don't have enough knowledge to know, like, if, where he should have been sent. I honestly thought that, he was going to be in Idaho no matter what. I don't have enough info. I'm not the right one. I don't know. I would just sound ridiculous and stupid. So I thought because it happened in Idaho and because of how but now I'm learning more that he could have been sent to, because it's a federal case, right? He could have been sent anywhere. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So I honestly, I don't know. I just sound dumb right now. So, but now I'm learning that, yeah, perhaps he can be sent somewhere else. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think that, I don't know either, but it sounds like throughout, a prison term, it's not uncommon for somebody to be moved away from one place to another. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, we're all finding out. We're all learning as we go. I mean, I don't know. It's just now we wait and hopefully not find out that he gets moved. Right?
Yeah. True story. One could argue, this goes on to say, one could argue Kohberger would have been safer on death row.
It's true. It's so true, because the death row, I mean, I've seen pictures and what death row looks like in some of these prisons and facilities. And some of them only have like 4, 5, or maybe 10 prisoners there. And it's just a separate, section. And so he wouldn't really be accosted by all these other prisoners talking to them through the vents and all of that. So yeah, it's definitely true. He would have been amongst a smaller population.
Yeah. Well, again, be careful what you wish for. Every time he's gotten it, it's not gone well for him. It's not gone well for him. Jefferson, also known as the Happy Face Killer, told Fox Digital News in July that he will be out of harm's way from the general population in Idaho's prison system. Kohberger is currently being held in a special wing known as J Block, where he is separated from other inmates. J Block is a unit that can hold up to 128 individuals and includes populations in general population protective custody, long-term restrictive housing, and death row. Conditions of officials previously told Fox News he is serving 4 consecutive life sentences plus another 10 years with no chance of parole. Let's see if there's anything. Yeah, there's just some stuff from previous. So in the end, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I think it's a toss up, and I think that just because the facilities have come forward and saying no, it's not true, I think that can be true. They can be being honest, and I think also if they're going to try to move him out of their facility and they want to do it safely without somebody, doing something, they may want to keep that information to themselves until after the move has already happened. I think that's pretty common.
Yeah.
So let's see.
It's too late now. I mean, honestly, it's too late.
I agree.
It's already out, and people are honestly talking about it, making bets on it, and pretty big ones. And yeah.
Would you call the bet? Would you say, nah, I'll call your $2 million that he's staying?
No, I wouldn't do that either. No way. No, because I also know like where Chris's source, or not, I don't know his sources, but I know some of the
He's
information
legit.
he's had before too. Yes. So, I met him at CrimeCon too, and I've talked to him. He's a pretty smart guy, and he knows his stuff. So, yeah, I don't, but I'm not going to bet $2 million. So I wouldn't even bet 10.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, I would bet me. I'd call $100. I'll do $100. But more than that, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Flo says, as I'm sitting second guessing the topic now, I think only the scenario I see McDonough being right about is if his source is directly from ISMI and they haven't talked to IDOC yet. Maybe. Or they don't want nobody to know that they are moving him.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is all government stuff. All they have to say is, yeah, just tell them we don't know anything.
Mhm.
Yeah, just push out a press thing saying we don't know nothing. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all they got to do. I mean, that's what happens everywhere. We don't know nothing, and we stand on business with that. We know nothing.
Yeah. Let's see. The prison will be.
Why would they say they know something? I mean, imagine the alternative to that email. Yeah, actually, what we know is blah, blah, blah. I mean, that would just be like insanity. So the easier route is, we don't know nothing.
Yeah. The Blackthorn comes in with an interesting point, saying that the prison probably would be happy to move him away given the amount of complaints and things of that nature. If he's complaining to the prison, he's probably going above them and complaining to the state and things like that. I don't know how they are graded on certain things. I know that, government funding may play a role with, types of complaints may have an effect with those type of things. Could you see the prison being okay getting rid of him? I don't think that they would be fighting tooth and nail to keep him.
Well, from what I understand, if this is really happening, from what I understand, they are reaching out to all these other prisons that are like Kuna, right? It's called Kuna. So they're reaching out to them, and they're kind of in conversations with them. Like, it's like a negotiation. Like, it's not like, hey, if you take this prisoner, it's not like a, POW kind of thing. Or or I don't know, POW is the right word, but they're not like trading, but they're in negotiations. Like, why, give us a good, throw us a good, give us a good reason why we should take this prisoner from off your hands. And so they're reaching out to these other prisons and kind of explaining their situation, maybe showing all the stuff that Bryan has written up and why he wants to be moved, and then kind of seeing who's gonna, if anybody's gonna grab it, and if they've got anybody interested in their offer. So and then once they have somebody interested, then they start talking more, and then they'll arrange the move. And if that does happen, the prisoner does not know until they'll walk into his cell and be like, grab your stuff, you're moving right now. He'll find out the second it happens. Up until then, he knows nothing. They'll not even say like, hey, they read your stuff, and they're actually considering nothing. So that'll be all internal. And they'll just kind of work within the system and see, if they've got any takers. They'll have to really they'll really have to it's like a house buying kind of thing. Like, they'll have to present a good, presentation about him, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think anybody, I think it's going to come to the determination of a judge at some point is going to look at all the complaints and things and say, all right, let's get this guy out of there. But I have no idea how the judge, how they diplomat that, the inmates and who goes where and things of that nature. But Texas Ranger brings up an interesting point. Is it going to matter? It's not like he's going to go to a place and they're going to be like, oh, let's accept him. He's one of us. Let's bring him in. Wherever he goes, he's going to be a target. He's going to have a target on his back.
Right.
There's going to be people who want to make a name for themselves. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what Happy Face wants to do by getting him over there to, Oregon, is to lure him there so that way he can be responsible for being the guy that took him out. You know what I mean? And so I don't think he's going to be quote unquote safe I mean, I don't want to use that word. I think he'll be physically safe. I don't think he'll be, free from harassment and people yelling at
Oh
him or
yeah.
people wanting to hurt him. I don't think that's going to happen anywhere he goes. He's going to be stuck there regardless. He's going to have to
Right.
work wherever he goes. Um,
And I don't know how it works with the WSU lawsuit. I honestly would have no clue, but my question also would be, would he be needed for anything, or is he just totally omitted from any proceedings with that? Because I think that would be something that would be taken into consideration as well. Like, also now we would have to move, like, let's say they move him out of state. So now we got to move this inmate in and out of state every time they need him for this, potential ongoing suit, they have no idea how long it could last. I think that would be part of their decision making as well, because that would add to the funding for these facilities, institutions that are all, as we, mentioned, are already underfunded and understaffed, right?
mhm.
So I just think that would be part of the decision making process as well.
That makes sense. And thank you for that question, because I have a civil lawyer that's going to be talking about the WSU lawsuit. And I'm going to ask him, because I didn't think about that question,
I'm
is Bryan
excited for that. He's
Kohberger.
my
Yeah.
buddy.
Yes. I'm going to ask him, is Bryan Kohberger going to be needed for, to be there? Could he testify in this lawsuit?
Mhm.
Could he be brought in?
Yeah,
That
right.
that would be, I mean, this would be something different. He could be compelled to talk in this scenario because this is a civil situation. And
Hmm.
so he could be compelled to talk, and we may actually hear something. I mean, it may not be
Yeah,
about the crime itself, but maybe perhaps if he utilized anything that, school resources and things of that
right.
nature.
Yeah.
JJ Lavin comes in saying, does he have to stay in Idaho, or can he be moved to Indiana where his Uncle Reggie is from? So
Oh, and
is
caramel.
the other thing is too, whether it's that or even get closer to Pennsylvania where his family is. I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility, and it's probably what it is that maybe perhaps he's trying to get closer to his family.
Mm, no, I mean, I don't know, but I don't think that's what I think he's just trying to get himself more comfortable. And honestly, he wants to control the narrative as he has thus far. And he wants to continue to display how powerful he can be and is. Like he wants to be in control.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you that's a huge possibility. Steph comes in saying it doesn't matter. The case was a high profile. Idaho is always going to be the biggest hotbed. Chris Watts shipped out to Wisconsin, and Derek Chauvin shipped out to Arizona.
So yeah,
I mean, yeah. I mean, he could be sent somewhere else. He could be sent further away. He can find himself in Oregon, or Oregon's further than Idaho than he is
right.
to where he's at. So, yeah, not much further. He's pretty far away, but yeah. What about all this new stuff that's been coming out here recently? What's your opinion on it? Howard Bloom has kind of been telling folks, and I may have gone a little too hard on Howard yesterday, and I may have been a little too what's the word I'm looking for? Mean. I probably should have toned it down a little bit.
There it is. That's the word.
Um,
I haven't read his newest article. What can you just give me a quick cliff note? Like, what was it about?
Well, he believes that Bryan Kohberger may have made a friend that helped him, and that Bryan Kohberger was actually tagging along, and that the other person was the person who had some sort of vendetta with the victims, and that Bryan was the what's the word, accomplice.
Patsy?
He was the accomplice.
So does he think that there were two or more than one person at the house? Like, is that
Correct.
what he's trying to say?
Yeah, he even said that there was an unknown male blood on the knife sheath,
I mean,
which is not true.
right, there wasn't. But there was unknown
It was
DNA on the
underneath the
banister.
and it was underneath the fingernail of Madison.
Right. I
But
don't know enough about that.
she was,
but
it was a small amount, and she was out and about. I mean, she could have gotten it from God knows
right.
where.
Yeah.
You know,
However, So like, all right. So the one I do know, like I didn't read it, but I did see how People Magazine was posting today several times that, the new documents are suggesting maybe that there were two perpetrators, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of just like bringing a lot of buzz and this and that. So my opinion on that is, for starters, we have eyewitness from the jump, right? And one of the roommates, and they only saw one person. So let's just always have that in the back of our heads. From the beginning, because we're gonna, there's facts and then there's conspiracy theories, so it's like we got to hear both sides. So it's like we do know that Dylan saw with her eyes one person. She didn't say I saw one person and then another person running behind them, or I heard this and that, or I heard chatter. She saw one person. She described that person. So that's a fact, right? And that makes it hard for the accomplice theory. That's like just a little something there. And then, with the other, all the other like information that we have along the way, everything we have with Kohberger himself, it is just his DNA on that sheet. It really is. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to, like, obviously I'm not a professional, especially I'm not a DNA anything, but we do have the facts in front of us and it's just his, right? Then but then we go like with the other stuff, then we know why they might be saying there's two people though, because then there's this extra blood splatter on the banister. And this is kind of where it like bothers me, because it's like, out of this whole house, they tested all the stuff. The one part, like there's unknown DNA outside and the unknown DNA on the banister. They chose not to test the unknown DNA outside and on the banister because they said their reasoning was, it was like, this is just unheard of. It was going to kick out of CODIS or out of the system. It was going to kick out the sheath DNA that they already have in their processing. That's why they're not submitting the banister DNA. Now, I can't make sense of that, but okay, like there's that. Secondly, the other reasoning was that this was a party house, that this was a college house, and that source of DNA on the banister and outside could have come from anywhere. But what they do know is the source on the sheath definitely came from the murderer. So why would they even entertain other DNA when they already know that the DNA on the sheath came from the murderer?
Well, it's not so much that. I mean,
wrap my head around that either.
It's a lot of different things, right? It's when you find other DNA or blood DNA on the handrail or outside, it's when did it get there? How did it get there? Who, what, when, where, and why? And when it comes to it being at party house, a lot of those questions can't be answered. Now, when it comes to the item that was brought into the home, then that's a different story, and that's why you focus in on that. Now, here's the thing. Do you remember the date that Bryan Kohberger first passed by the 1122 King Road residence?
Not off the top of my head, no.
It was in July.
Okay.
He moved there.
I thought it was June, but okay.
Well, he moved there in June.
Mm-hmm.
It may have been June. It was the 22nd. I think it was either June or July, but I could have sworn it was the 22nd of July. But maybe it was June. He moved there.
July 9th, somebody said.
July 9th was the first time that he had passed by. And he moved there around June, I think it was 5th or 6th. Now, we're to believe then that he would have already made contact with somebody. And they've already devised their plan to start looking and find the victims. He's already found the victims that he's looking for come July 9th. Now, if you're going to go out there, you're this guy that you're looking for an apprentice to go out there and become your serial killer apprentice. You're gonna look at a cop, a guy that wants to be a cop, and you've convinced him within 4 weeks. That's impressive to convince a person who's trying to be a police officer to turn serial killer in 4 weeks. Somebody who has a lot of problems making friends somebody who needed daddy to tell his neighbors to look out for him, be his friend, invite him. In fact, that's why he was invited to the pool party.
Right.
So, I just think it's wildly out of the realm of possibility. It's ridiculous to believe that he had made a friend within that amount of time, that this person, according to Howard Bloom, one of the problems with Bryan Kohberger is that there's no connection there. Well, this person then apparently has a connection. He knows them. Police were able to find the apprentice or the assistant, the helper, but they weren't able to find the guy that actually had the connection, the guy that had the problem, the guy that was upset to the point where he wanted to take four of their lives of at least one of them, and to the point where he was able to, or was willing to, take the lives of three others to at least get to one. I don't see that there.
Right. Right. Exactly. So, I mean, we got to think about where some of these people are getting their information from too. Sometimes they're getting it from people that are just not resourceful.
He talks about the time also that it took to commit the murders, and that he goes, it's about 13 minutes. And he goes, but if you give me, if you my calculation, it's more like 9, because he had to get dressed, had to walk down the hill, had to get undressed afterwards, get dressed into something else, leave, and then drive away. So he put it at 9 minutes. And then I talked about the, I think it's called the Bondi incident that happened, I think, Australia.
Yes.
Yeah, where this person
Definitely Australia
took the lives of 6, stabbed like
yes, it was
double
during
digits.
a bat mitzvah, I think. Yes.
And
beach party, I think.
No, not that one. Not the beach party. This is one I think at it was either at a mall or an airport. And he went from the 3rd to the 4th floor. Did this all within, I think we did 7 minutes, and he took the lives of 6. Stabbed over double digits. I think it was like 12. And we just talked about it this last time. And it was insane. I'm gonna pull it up real quick.
There was 12 stab wounds?
No, it was I'll pull it up real quick. I got it here. It was on April 13, 2024. Mass stabbing took place at Westfield Bondi Junction, a shopping center in the suburbs of Sydney, Australia. And I'm just going to kind of read what he did, the attack. So this is from at 3:32 p.m. So this is in the middle of the day. This is, his victims are alert. They're not asleep. They're not intoxicated. They're not caught off surprise, or they're not caught by surprise to the extent where they're in the ultimate surprise by asleep. So at 3:32 is when this started. He pulls out a knife from his backpack and he fatally takes out Don Singleton, who's in front of him in line at a sourdough bakery. Then at 3:33:01, he takes the life of Jade Young, just south of the bakery. And then he tried to attack another woman outside of the AG&E athletic store, but he just barely scratched her. At 3:33:18, he takes the life of another Yixuan Shen outside of Peter Alexander's fashion store. And then he stabs another woman, Cotton, outside of Cotton on Retailer, outside of another clothing store. But those victims survive at 3:33:28. So this is all within 2 minutes and 28 seconds. 2 security guards notice the attack happening, and they go towards the sourdough. The perpetrator attacks another woman outside of Kouke. She survives. The perpetrator then enters the Myers store where he stabs another woman. She also survives. Now at 3:34. So this started at 3:32. We're barely at 3:34. He then runs from the store and takes and stabs Ashley Good outside of AGE Athletica. As Good staggered away, a perpetrator started to stab her 9-month-old daughter. Good ran back and tried to fight him, but stabbed her again. The perpetrator subsequently left, and Good's daughter survived with heavy injuries. 3:34:26 p.m. This started at 3:32. So now we're at 2 minutes and 26 seconds later. The perpetrator ran back past Sourdough Bakery, stabbed both of the security guards. So these are trained security guards. these aren't young ladies who are asleep in bed. One of them was fatally wounded, and the other survived. Then he ran north, and then he stabbed two others. Both survived, and that's at 3:34:51. So he took the lives of one security guard and stabbed another one, and then went and stabbed two other women in the matter of 35 seconds. Okay. And then he goes and fatally stabs Pikra Dashura outside of Chanel Boutique. And then he goes down to the third floor where he takes the life of another victim at 3:35:40 outside of Zimmerman's store. And then he goes around to the third floor, try to access the fourth floor via an escalator. Two Frenchmen rescued a woman on the escalator, try to block the bullards. Eventually, the two men threw their bullards at the suspect and ran out the mall. The attacker moved up to the fourth floor, stayed near the escalator onto the fifth floor outside of the Zara store. And then that's when he eventually, I believe, let's see. This is when police officer Amy Scott gets there. And let's see. Scott was on location. She arrived at the shopping center at 3:37:21. They started at 3:32, so this is 5 minutes after the initial attack started. First officers on scene at 3:38:02. The suspect runs, and Scott and other civilians will start chasing him. The suspect eventually turns around at 3:38:40, ran towards Scott, still holding the knife in hand. Scott shoots 3 rounds from her duty weapon, striking the suspect in the shoulder and striking one in his neck. So from 3:32 to 3:38, that's 6 minutes and 2 seconds. All that occurred.
Wow.
I mean,
why did he do it? I
don't know why that guy did it, but to say that it is impossible to do what Bryan Kohberger did in 13 minutes, I think is just kind of silly.
Oh, I don't think it's impossible. I just think he was definitely gassed, and I do think it's possible. That's why I don't think there was a second person there, because I do think it's possible. We also have to remember he has training as a kickboxer and jujitsu. That could give him additional, stamina, and plus the adrenaline dump that comes with finally getting there and all of that. That gives people so much extra push and all of that. The comparison to adrenaline is more than any drug that I think in science that they can even compare it to. That's why drugs were made, because they wanted to compare it to adrenaline and, other things that our bodies perform. So,
right.
And plus we don't know what was in his system, but what we do know is that he does enjoy putting stuff in his system. So
that's true. That is true. And he was working out and he was running. We got pictures of him hiking up pretty tall mountains, doing that throughout the night. And then there's the I think it's the running app that he was on, that he ran a 6-minute mile while he was out there.
So he was working on his endurance, and he was trying to, keep up something to hold up some sort of stamina. We know it wasn't stamina for other things. So what was it for, right? He wasn't training for a marathon. There's no proof of that. The guy had 16 contacts in his phone. 4 of them had to have been his family. So that takes that out. So now we're down to 12.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, that's why it just keeps coming back to, people can put all these theories together that maybe it's somebody else was, involved or this and that. This guy has had so many opportunities to even kind of hint towards that, insinuate something. Never once. He's had 3 years, 2 months, nothing, not a word. All the times he's been in court, he's been asked, he pleaded guilty. Why hasn't he mentioned one little thing? Why is he taking the fall for this if somebody else is involved in any way? You know, like all the searches that they have done, like, you know, up until his arrest, like he was paranoid. He was searching up hold on, I wrote some of it. He was searching up psychopath paranoia. He was searching up serial killers. He was searching up wiretapping. He was searching up FBI wiretapping, all of that literally on December 29th. On December 29th, he was searching up the crime in every manner whatsoever. He was searching, you know, the reason, like a lot of people were wondering the whole Mad Creek thing, because prior to the murders, he just searched up the location. Like there was never any proof that he ate there or this and that. What they found on his phone is that he searched how to get there, right? So that was that connect. Other things they found on his phone was, on December 29th, he was looking of ways to get rid of his car. And then within an hour later, he was searching for a new used car. Again, like he felt like somebody was coming, like so he felt some weird pressure on December 29th. Why? We don't know, right? If he wasn't the murderer or if he wasn't the suspect, why was he looking up all of this stuff? He was looking up prior to that all of the ways to clear his phone, which he did. So, and he did it in such a way that there's still questions up in the air, like how much did he clear that they still don't know? Or is there not enough technology or science out there that could even pull it back because he was clearing it for so long? The car thing, looking up or getting rid of the car and then buying or searching up how to buy a new car, like all of that stuff, you know, if he didn't act alone, where's the searches for, you know, this second, you know, perp within these searches? There's nothing to even allude to that ever. Never, ever,
point.
ever. So
That's a good point.
That's where, you know, we got to stick to the facts versus going with all these conspiracy theories. You know, sure, again, for me, I'm stuck on that banister drop of blood because the blood outside, yeah, like I can understand why they wouldn't test that because there's so much going on outside, so much. But on the inside, there's just that one spot. It's not like there was random blood all over the place and they're saying this is a party house. It's just that one. Why not just do a process of elimination? There's been so many crimes that there's other, you know, blood in the house that they will test all of it to do a process of elimination. Why wouldn't Bryan's lawyers want that to eliminate him? I don't get it. Why was that banister never tested? And they're saying also that there was so many, you know, students within the house and they could have cut themselves in this. That's true. We also know that they would have fights in the house. I think it was during one of the, in the beginning, one of the depositions or testimonies of either the roommates or the friends that they would say the students would fight in the house, like the boys, and they would have these like little during the parties and it was just part of the thing. That's fine. That's what kids do. Maybe there was a splatter of blood that went off somewhere during those fights. All right, then let's just eliminate that and get that out of our heads so we don't have to all post and have people, magazines say there could have been two victims or two perps because they didn't test this or that. Process of elimination, let's just get rid of that in our minds and move on, right?
Right.
Like, why? This is why this case has so many questions. It's, you know, because they've left us with so many questions that unanswered. I can't figure it out.
Well, I mean, they got the result. That's why they got the result. You know, the prosecution wanted a conviction, and they wanted this guy to,
then they,
you know,
yeah, but then they need to come up with
prison.
better excuses, saying that they wouldn't test the banister because it would kick out the DNA
I
they
never
have in
heard
there
that.
right now. Neither have I, but that is legit their reasoning.
I haven't.
Like
I haven't heard that.
went today and looked for their reasoning. Like I before I was even going to say anything on it, I was like, I got to find out why. So I went and looked it up, and that was their reasoning to start with. And then they went on to say that, well, the outside blood was because there's so much going on. There's all these other students. The inside blood, kind of same thing, and because they heard in the deposition or whatever that their boys or whatever would do these little fights or something.
To me, I think that it's more about like resources at the time. And so, and then once you find your answer too, like, you know, you focus in on that. I mean, not to say that you don't look at anything else that comes in or anything else like that, but you know, you start to say, all right, what evidence did anybody have that the perpetrator went down the stairs to the first floor? Because I think it was like on the first floor handrail where they found that blood DNA or whatever. You know, you look at the fact, like I mentioned, you have a crime that had just occurred. Time is of the essence because, you know, as Bryan Kohberger did, he deleted a lot of the evidence from his phone. Do you think if they would have caught Bryan Kohberger sooner, that they may have found something, maybe perhaps in the car, or maybe on his phone, or you know, maybe perhaps he didn't get to something and deleted something at that moment that could have located where the weapon was? You know, I think there's a possibility of that. And so, you know, when you're looking at the scenario from the law enforcement's perspective, you're like, all right, well, we got to catch this guy pretty quick, because the longer he's out there, the chance that evidence is going to get destroyed, film's going to be rewritten or deleted. And so you then have to go into it like, all right, what's going to get us the right answer the fastest? Now we have this blood DNA on the handrail. We can focus on that. You know, that could be from a number of places, and that could be a dead end, or we have the knife sheath that we know was brought in by the perpetrator that has some DNA on it. You know, I would focus in on that, because again, you have all these resources that are limited, and you have tips that are coming in. You have the public pressure, you have the pressure from, you know, the mayor and school and everything else to try to figure out, you know, an answer to this. And you also have the pressure of the evidence not surviving. So you got to do this pretty quickly. I think that's why you focus in on that. And now once you got Bryan Kohberger's name, you're like, all right, you know, does this guy have an alibi? Let's look at his phone. Was he at home? Was he somewhere? Can we rule him out as a suspect? You know what? He turned his phone off. And awkwardly enough, it was during the time of the murders. All right. What does he drive? Does he happen to drive the same vehicle that we have on footage? Yeah. Shoot, there you go. You know, you start filling in the, you know, you start checking off the you know, the boxes here. And when it comes to Bryan Kohberger, he's the only one that check marks them all. You know, you may have some boxes you can check mark here or there. Oh, Jack DeCore had a motive because his, you know, Kaylee was his ex-girlfriend, this, that, and a third. But does he check them all off? It's not just about checking one box. It's about checking them all off. And he doesn't. You know, with many other people that people were looking at, they don't. There's only one person that does, and it's Bryan Kohberger.
Right. Yeah. And I had something so good to say, and I totally forgot it. And it was
My
like,
bad.
no, it's okay. Like you were saying about, oh my God, just remind me again. Like you were saying, it was in response to that.
Well, I mean, what I was saying was just that they were trying to, you know, the resources were limited. And so they were looking at what it was that they could get the right answer fast. You know?
Right. Oh, it'll come to me the minute we hang up. I guarantee it. Like, but it was good. I was like, oh, I know exactly what to say to this.
I mean, do you think that the focus should be differently? I mean, I get, you know, after the fact.
I know what I was going to say.
There
Okay. So with the sheath, so we know that the DNA they got off of there was very small, right? Hold on, my AirPod's falling out. Let me push it back in. Up until this point, like they had, or well, either way, like just forget I said that. So they get the DNA off the sheath, right? But now they have this additional blood on the banister. Why wouldn't they want all right, so let's say they're getting this DNA now back and they're realizing, all right, we're having a hard time with it. That's why, you know, they had to eventually, it ended up at Othram, all of that. But they still have this banister DNA, and it's a good amount. So why not run that to see if it matches sheath DNA? Because we have a bigger amount of banister DNA, and now we can run this because it matches that, and we have more of it, and we don't need to send it off to all these other places.
When you say banister, what do you mean? Because I'm not familiar with what banister you're talking about. Because I'm only aware of blood DNA on the handrail and on a glove outside.
I don't have. Hold on.
I'm not familiar.
I think
with
it's the one
blood
downstairs.
Then that's the one on the handrail.
I had a picture of it, and it's a decent amount.
they did run it, and it just didn't come back to anybody. They ran it into CODIS because in the documents it indicated that Bryan Kohberger's defense team were arguing that that DNA doesn't belong to Bryan Kohberger because it's an unknown match, and at this point they have Bryan Kohberger's DNA, and so that was their argument. And it was ran into CODIS, and it came back
Right,
nothing.
because it didn't come back as anybody. Right, but
Right.
in the beginning is where, like what I'm saying, in the beginning, they wouldn't run it because it would kick out their current DNA is what, like, in the
I don't
beginning before
necessarily
they
think
had their
I don't think it
person,
was going to
you know?
kick it out. I think it's just that it would have slowed down the process. You want to answer the question on the DNA on the knife sheath at first, because that's going to answer a lot of questions. Let's just say you run it and it comes back to Bryan Kohberger, and let's just say he had an alibi. Let's just say he had a solid alibi and it wasn't him. But you know that the amount of DNA that was on it, and it wasn't a small amount. The DNA folks have come out and said that it was a significant amount, to the point
Right.
where they felt that it was that person touched it, that it wasn't a transfer from one place to another, that person that left the DNA physically handled it. And so you know that the person, Bryan Kohberger, made contact with your suspect in some form or fashion and touched the knife sheath. And so even if he isn't the person that committed the crime, you're going into that, all right, if he had a solid alibi, there's video footage of him at his house. Well, now you can just bring him in and be like, hey, we know you handled this knife
Right.
sheath. Where did you handle it at?
Yeah.
When did you get it? And you follow so it was, that avenue was always going to be, avenue priority number one, because that was going to lead to your killer one way or the other.
Yeah. And I can totally see that being the reason too. Like, they have to just go with protocol, and this is like, we just have to follow the facts, and other DNA does not lead us to any facts. Nothing pulled up on that, but this pulled us, to what we need, and obviously that's the direction they chose to go with.
I agree. JJ Lavin comes in saying, do either of you think that he'll tell his story, or will he take it to the grave? I'll let you answer first, and then I'll go.
Well, I do think that, I don't think it'll be like in any immediate future, but I think like maybe in 20 years, I think something will trickle out. I do know that his sister is actively shopping media networks and all of that to tell her side of the story, like as like their family side of the story. So they are shopping a deal. Whether that has anything, yes, and that's a fact from my source. So I can't, like, maybe my source doesn't have good information, but that's my information. So that's where my fact, like, maybe it's wrong, but that's what I'm saying. So they are looking to say something, there are members of his family that are speaking to authors to leak out information, whether it be factual or not. I don't think it is, but I think they are speaking to them to kind of muck up the information to make him not seem as evil as he is. And that is a fact.
Well, I don't think they're doing a great job.
No, they're not.
They're coming out and saying things like, we put the victims, birthdays in our calendars so we can remember them, and that, and I get the sentiment and stuff, but it's coming off wrong. It came off wrong, came out creepy. And if that's the kind of stuff that they're trying to use to mitigate his appearance.
Yeah, even in that article, I think Melissa even stated, or the sister stated, that he has no violent history, no violent past. There was a time where the other sister couldn't attend something. She had to stay home with the father because he got into a physical altercation with Bryan, and she had to stay home to care for him. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm sure the other sister knew about that because it was literally, they talked about it online. So this just, to me, again, shows how they're trying to alter the narrative and control everything, just like Bryan is, with the jail, all of that. So, even the birthday thing, like, it's just like, what kind of mind F-U-C-K is that, and the saying that he's not a violent man when we have so many instances to show us that he is. Violence, the word violence has a lot of, can be defined in many ways, and he falls under a lot of them throughout his high school years, right up until today. So, I mean, she's his sibling. She's going to try to protect him, but like, you can't lie about it when we see it. Like, we have it in front of us,
Yeah. No, I agree.
And I mean, saying that this was a total shock and surprise, and the whole thing over the holidays when, when we see like literally what he was doing over the holidays on Christmas. Actually, I wrote down what he was doing on Christmas, the night of Christmas. He was looking up serial killer timelines on Christmas. He was downloading, their timelines. He accidentally downloaded Danny Rawlings twice. He also searched him in November, right after the murders. Why? Literally either on November 13th or like a couple days right after. Like, this is just all it doesn't connect to me when she's saying I was right there with him during the whole holidays when he was home. There was no signs, nothing. But this is what he's doing. And right up in, like, when he was looking for the car and trying to get rid of his car, that was at 9:08 in the morning. So it's not like he was doing this at 2:00 at night and she could be like, well, I was sleeping, Well, no, it looks like he was doing that like during morning breakfast, news, coffee time. I mean, I don't know.
No, he was taking selfies shirtless there.
Oh, yeah. The selfies, like they, like they were going over with the majority of stuff on his phone, and like they said, it's selfies.
The see his mom in the background.
Yeah. Like, looking good, Bri. Like, and like the fact that he got a tummy tuck, like, come on, I don't get it. Like, this kid he's still like in his, how old was he when he got the tummy tuck? Like 22 or something, 20, I don't even remember. Like, how does that even work? And they spent the money on that knowing he's, like, what's he going to do with it? It just shows to me again how he just throws a fit and he gets his way. Like, oh, I gained weight and now I don't like the way I look. Please take the skin off of me. Well, tough shit. We all gain weight and we lose weight and we gain weight. We have kids. And then, like, so what? Mommy and daddy got to pay for all of our, like, yeah, sure. We know some people that get mommy makeovers every time they think they're pregnant or whatever, and get it done and redone and done. But that's not, this is a guy that was in his early 20s, totally different, and he had his parents pay for it, not his husband, So
that's funny.
I don't know.
Yeah, for me, I think he'll eventually tell his story. I think he will talk. I think maybe perhaps mom, dad have to, maybe not be around anymore for that to happen.
That's exactly, yes. I just was speaking on this the other day. I do know his dad is not feeling well. I think I mentioned this last time we were on. He has heart problems. And I do think that, and I don't wish ill will on most people, not any, most people, but you know what I mean? Like, but if something, and especially his family, like, I know they didn't deserve this. They didn't ask for any of this. They didn't ask to be put on the stage, but if something happens to his father, right? And I think because I do think a lot of this has to do with the relationship between the mother and son relationship. I think, when things pass with his father, I think that's what's going to restart a different, part of this whole saga with him. And maybe that'll, something will click in his brain, or maybe not. And maybe that's when he'll talk, or maybe that's when he'll get maybe more angrier. I don't know, but I feel there will be a change in him and his mother and their relationship after, unfortunately, God forbid, anything happens to his father.
Yeah. Well, I think more so with his mom. I think maybe perhaps after, she's not in the picture, I think that's when he's probably going to open up about things. I think that's the only person that he maybe cares about or maybe thinks he cares about, or whatever the fact may be. But, I think he'll eventually say something. I think, he'll eventually say what he did, and whether it'll be true or not, I don't know, but I think he'll talk.
I was
Shannon
just going to
asked,
say that. Yeah. We don't know if it'll be true and what kind of, story he'll make up, but he'll say something.
yeah, Shannon goes, do you think when BK started wiping his data, I think it was November 10th, was when the document said that it was when he started wiping his data. Travis says, Daniel, what do you guys think happened in the civil suit against the state of Idaho / University Toss trial settlement? With the WSU, I think it'll probably be settled.
Yeah. Well, they just moved it to federal court. So that from what I understand, shows their seriousness. This also means that there's not going to be they're not going to allow the media attention, the media spectacle, no cameras, this and that, which, gives more privacy, which allows more,
But who does that favor? Who does that favor?
I think
that favors the school.
Yes and no. But I think the families finally deserve some privacy, because
Right, but that's what the school wants. The school doesn't want this out there. The lawsuit is so that they can put this out front forth and for everybody to see that the school screwed this up. And now the school is hiding behind this federal curtain.
But there still will be discovery, and we will still be privy to a lot of this discovery. And I think once it's in federal court, from what I understand, we get discovery. I think we're more privy. The public is more privy to discovery because it's in federal court versus it being more sealed. But I'm not very clear on that. Maybe somebody can say, I don't know.
I don't know, but if I was the school, I would have preferred it to be in federal court because of the privacy aspect. You don't want, people to find out that your school's not safe.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's everybody's bread and butter over there. Yeah. I mean, they have so many students. What are they going to do? Transfer them all,
Whose decision was it? Like who opted for that? Was that the family members, the victims, or was that the school that opted it to be a federal suit?
I think, for it to be a federal, I think the state, from what I saw, it just said the state has made a decision to move it to federal court yesterday. So I don't know. I think it's just. I bet you the state.
See, I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist sometimes.
No.
And that feels to me. That feels to me like the state got. They probably have some interest with WSU. Financially.
Well, they were probably like hot potato. I don't want it. You want it? I don't want it.
Not necessarily that. I think it was like, they know that there's funding, government funding, scratch your back, scratch my back, type of stuff that's always going on with like voting and all these other things. And so I wouldn't be surprised. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being the case. That
they did it on purpose?
They did it as a favor. If they had their own interest in it being quiet.
Mm-hmm.
The government, the local government had their own interest in not allowing this to go public, for it to not affect, the revenue of the state, which would affect their pocketbook in a certain extent.
I think I may have saw something, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe somebody can verify it, but that the lawyer that responded for the claim that is representing WSU is actually works also with University of Idaho as well, but is one of the legal representatives for the college as well. But I don't think I even took a picture of it, but I'd have to go back and check. But I'm sure on Saturday, Matt will be more than happy to explain all of that to us. He's such a nice guy, and he's so smart. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to it too. It'll be Saturday night, guys. So make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. What do you got going on next? What do you have? I know we have your social media stuff for Crime Scene Collective in the description. Let everybody know what you're doing right now.
We're just doing the same thing. We're just following up on the cases that we have. Like I do like speeches in front of people to explain like what we do. And so I have a lot of those lined up. I just got invited to about 10 more. So I do those, around Dallas and stuff. So, just to introduce like who we are, what we do, and, how how to get the word out. Like if, any families or victims or anything need our help. We have CrimeCon coming up in May, so we're preparing for that. Are you going to be at CrimeCon?
I might. I haven't decided yet. I was talking to the wife about it. I think I'm going to try to get out there, but I haven't decided quite yet.
It's going to be a good one. Did I lose you? Am I running the show by myself? Oh, you're back.
Not at all. I had a sneeze.
Oh, well, bless you.
Thank you. I didn't want to have to sneeze and everybody see that. They'll make AI and do some weird things.
Oh my God, I know. That would be great.
It would not for me.
You should definitely try to go. It's good. Kohberger is going to be a big presence at this year's.
Yeah. If I do go, it's just going to be me as like a I'm not going to have, I'm
like
not going to be a
attendee.
vendor.
Yeah.
An attendee.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
No, that's all I do. I just go as an attendee because you can network so much better that way and meet with people and, you just see them, hey, what's up? And you just start talking to them. And, I think it's better that way.
Yeah. I'll probably be there. I'll let you guys know for sure. Probably in the next couple weeks. I went out to the Steelers game in the playoffs, and that kind of took a pretty dent into my wallet.
Oh, I
so
bet.
We'll see what happens.
Did you have fun?
I did, but it was super cold, and I was super tired. I flew in the same day of the game, and then flew out extremely early the next day, so I'm kind of miserable there at the end. But yeah, and it's in Denver this year in May, and so yeah, I was looking at it for those that are.
No,
asking.
it's in Vegas.
Oh, it's in Vegas. Oh, shoot,
yeah.
Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I might be going.
That's why Chris put that $2 million down because he's preparing for the Vegas trip. He wants to make sure he's got money.
There you go. You know what? I might have to definitely go now.
See,
it's been a while since I've been to Vegas. It's been a while.
Me too. Like this is
we'll
like
see.
the best time. No other better reason than this.
Exactly. Well, it was a pleasure having you on. It always is. We'll do this again soon. Again, just kind of let everybody know where they can find you.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, they can find me on TikTok, on Twitter or X, Facebook. It's just Crime Scene Collective. Our website is crimescenecollective.org. And then on all the other platforms, just Crime Scene Collective, but Scene is SEEN, so you can see us. And thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you soon. I can't wait for Saturday too with Matt.
Yes, that's going to be fun. But tomorrow I'm going to be back on. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Daniel Martel arrest that just happened out there in Nova Scotia, which was unrelated to the Jack and Lily disappearance. But there's some information there, and I'll give you guys my 2 cents on what I think is possibly happening and what's going to go on from there. So you don't want to miss it. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. And also, guys, if you are into collecting and things like that, I did drop a little Pokemon video earlier today of me opening up some stuff. I actually hit a chase card. Card. Yeah, one of the chase cards. So go check that video out. I've been pretty lucky here as of recent.
No way. My daughter does that big time.
My buddies do it, and I'm going to try to get my little one into it. And so I got some stuff saved for her for later on when she gets older.
Cool.
It'll be worth, it doesn't matter what it's worth. It'll be pretty cool stuff that's old stuff by the time she's like 5-6 years old. She'll have these things that are older that I think she'll enjoy opening. And so I'm looking forward to it. I got a lot of stuff saved up for her already. But I'll be back tomorrow night, guys. Thank you.
All right. And thanks to all your mods for helping out. I appreciate it too.
Yes. You guys have a great night.
All right. Good night. I'll see you guys later.
See you later. Bye.